Of sixth grade primary school. Today we will complete what we have started the last episode, which the lesson of mass and width. In the last episode I promised you to complete this lesson because this lesson is very important, and today we will make a focus on the problems of mass and width. زي ما قلت لكم الاسبوع اللي فات هنكمل درس الماس اند ويت، الكتله والوزن، وهنعمل فوكس او هنركز قوي على مسائل الماس اند ويت. So let's start with the summary of what we have studied the last episode. نراجع مع بعض درسنا ايه الاسبوع اللي فات. We have differentiated between mass and weight. We have known عرفنا what's meant by mass, what's meant by weight. وعرفنا كويس قوي ان الماس doesn't change but weight changes from place to place. الماس ما بتتغيرش، كتلة ثابتة، قيمة ثابتة، لكن الويت بيتغير تبعا للمكان الموجود في الجسم. Again, mass is a constant value or a stable value, but weight changes from place to place. So let's have a summary of what we have studied last episode. We have studied that mass is the amount of matter in an object. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Again, mass is the amount of matter in an object. الكتلة هي كمية المادة اللي في الشيء. Again, mass is the amount of matter in an object. So, what are the properties of mass? إيه هي خواص الماس? We have many properties of mass, such as mass increases when the amount of matter increases and vice versa. الكتلة بتزيد لما كمية المادة بتزيد، والعكس صحيح. vice versa معناها والعكس صحيح. Again, mass increases when amount of matter increases and vice versa. Again, mass increases when amount of matter increases and vice versa. Another property، خاصية تانية للماس أو الكتلة. All matters have mass, whatever their physical state, solid or liquid or gas. Again, all matters have mass, whatever their physical state, solid or gas. أي مادة في الدنيا ليها كتلة حتى لو كان حالتها الفيزيائية solid, liquid or gas. Again, all matters have mass, whatever their physical state, solid, liquid or gas. Another property of mass, all matters have mass whatever their place, whatever their place. كل المواد ليها كتلة مهما كان مكانها. In hand, on the earth, on the moon, or on any planet. أي مادة في الدنيا ليها كتلة مهما كان مكانها. And this mass is a fixed or stable value. والكتلة قيمة ثابتة ما بتتغيرش. Again, all matters have mass whatever their place in hand, on the earth, on the moon, or on any planet. Another property of mass. Mass of any matter is fixed, stable value, and it doesn't change by changing. هنا بنعمل summary لكل اللي قلناه من شوية. الماس قيمة ثابتة ما بيتغيرش بتغيير. State of matter حالة المادة. Place of matter أو مكان المادة. For example, let me explain this property in details. يعني for example نرسم مع بعض. هتخيل إن عندي cube of ice. This cube of ice has mass of about 50 gram. Look here, cube of ice, 50 gram. What is its state? Sure, it will be solid. What happens if I put this cube of ice on a beaker on water? It will change into water. So what about its mass? Its mass will be 50 gram too. What's its state? It's liquid here. So mass doesn't change from changing of solid to liquid. Again, الماس ما بتتغيرش لو أو حولنا المادة أو عملنا change الماتر from solid to liquid, or from liquid to gas, or from gas to liquid, or from liquid to solid again. So again, mass of any matter is a fixed value, and it doesn't change by changing the place of matter or the state of matter. State يعني حالة المادة, as we have studied in primary 4. States of matter are 3, which are solid, liquid, and gas. Another property of matter is that mass is measured in units of gram, kilogram, and ton. Mass is measured in units of gram, kilogram, and ton. الماس بنقيسها بوحدات بنسميها gram. Gram for very small masses such as silver, gold, chemicals. Kilogram for more bigger masses such as fruits and vegetables, and ton for more bigger masses such as blocks of iron, the mass of cars, the mass of huge animals such as elephant, and so on. So again, mass is measured in units of gram, kilogram, and ton. Another property of mass is measured by devices called scales or balances. الماس بنقيسها بأجهزة بنسميها scales أو balance، اللي بنسميه باللغة العربية الشائعة الميزان، ولو انها تسمية مش دقيقة لكن ناخد بالنا المفروض نقول ده جهاز بيحدد الكتلة، أو يعني لو جاز التعبير في العربي نسميه المكتل. يبقى الماس بنقيسها بجهاز بنسميه scale أو balance. طب في كام نوع من scale أو balance؟ We have two main type of scale or balances which are number one two arm scale. two arm scale يعني ميزان ذو كفتين. two arm scale and one arm scale. طب two arm scale هدرس فيه نوعين تانيين أو two examples which are balance scale أو بنسميه كمان common balance. ونمبر 2 sensitive two arm scale. sensitive two arm scale. and the second type النوع التاني سميناه one arm scale ميزان ذو كفة واحدة، وده هناخد منه two examples برضو. one arm digital scale and one arm scale with a pointer. one arm scale with a pointer. So we have two types of scales. عندنا نوعين من الموازين. one arm scale ميزان ذو كفة واحدة زي اللي قدامنا دلوقتي، وده بنسميه one arm digital scale. one arm digital scale ميزان ذو كفة واحدة رقمي. another type or another example of one arm scale. one arm scale with a pointer ميزان ذو كفة واحدة بمؤشر. one arm scale with a pointer. And this is a summary for all the scales which we have studied in measuring mass. We have two types of scales which are two arm scale on the left and one arm scale on the right. two arm scale on the left we have two examples which are balance scale ميزان المعتاد أو كمان بنسميه common scale أو balance scale. number 2 which is the sensitive two arm scale ميزان الحساس sensitive two arm scale. النوع التاني أو الإكزامبل التاني one arm scale ميزان ذو كفة واحدة. هناخد two examples which are digital one arm scale ميزان ذو كفة واحدة رقمي and one arm scale with a pointer ميزان ذو كفة واحدة بمؤشر. So we have studied all about mass but we have notabene معناها ملاحظة. We use a suitable balance to measure the suitable quantity of masses. بنستخدم الميزان المناسب للكمية المناسبة. For example, if you want to measure the mass of fruits and vegetables, you must use the balance scale or common balance scale. If you want to measure the mass of gold, silver or chemicals and such precious things الأشياء القيمة أو الأشياء الغالية جدا, we use the digital one arm scale and so on. So we use the suitable balance to measure the suitable quantity of masses. بنستخدم الكمية المناسبة أو الميزان المناسب للكمية المناسبة. So what about 1 gram؟ يعني إيه تقريبا 1 gram؟ 1 gram equal mass of 1 paper clip. بيساوي تقريبا كتلة دبوس ورق. For small masses such as jewelry, such as gold, silver, chemicals and so on. يبقى الجرام ده تقريبا بيساوي كتلة 1 paper clip. 1 paper clip دبوس ورق أو الدبوس احنا عارفينه كويس قوي هو اللي بيساوي mass of 1 gram. So what about 1 kilogram? We know from our previous study in mathematics, درسنا في mathematics إن 1 kilogram equal 1000 gram. 1 kilogram equal 1000 gram. So the mass of 1 liter of water at the normal temperature equal 1 kilogram. يعني كيلوغرام هو تقريبا mass of 1 liter of water. كتلة لتر مية في الحرارة العادية. Again, the mass of 1 liter of water at the normal temperature is 1 kilogram and it equals 1000 gram. And it equal 1000 gram. So, kilogram is suitable for what? Suitable for measuring large masses as fruits and vegetables. كيلوغرام مناسب للكتل الكبيرة زي الفروتس أو vegetables and so on. So, what about ton? Ton is used for measure very big masses كتل كبيرة جدا such as blocks of iron, such as blocks of rocks, such as blocks of marble, كتل صخور, كتل الرخام, كتل حديد and so on. It is a ton. Ton is a very big unit for measuring mass and it equal 1000. عارفين كويس قوي إن الطن بيساوي 1000 kilogram 1000 kilogram. So mass of a body again doesn't change from a place to another. الماس ما بتتغيرش من مكان لمكان. We know that mass is a fixed value and it doesn't change from changing from place to place. الماس قيمة ثابتة أو كمية ثابتة and it doesn't change from changing the object's place to another. الكتلة قيمة ثابتة and again it doesn't change by changing the place of matter or by changing the state of matter, and we have studied by that all about mass. We have studied all things about mass. We have studied the units of mass, which are gram, kilogram and ton. We have studied the measuring devices of mass, which are scales or balances. عندنا موازين كتيرة جدا بنقيس بيها الماس أو الكتلة, such as 2-arm scale or 1-arm scale, and we have started from the 2-arm scale, balance scale and sensitive 2-arm scale, and also we have started from 1-arm scale, 1-arm scale with a pointer and 1-arm scale or 1 digital arm scale. So we have studied many information, معلومات مهمة جدا عن الماس. Like that, mass doesn't change. So I have a picture here, في صورة مهمة جدا هنشوفها دلوقتي. This picture illustrates that mass doesn't change, but weight changes. So look here. This person is standing on the earth. His weight on earth is around 560 Newton. But on another place, on the moon, for example, its weight or his weight is 90 Newton only. So what about mass? His mass is always 56 kilograms. So again, the mass doesn't change. This girl is standing on the earth and sometimes on the moon and sometimes on at home, for example. So what happened here? What happened to mass? Mass doesn't change. What happened to weight? Weight changes from place to place. And that's we will study now about weight. ندرس بقى يعني ايه الويت بالتفصيل زي ما درسنا الاسبوع اللي فات. We have studied that weight is the gravitational force by which the body is attracted to the earth. Again, weight is the gravitational force. That's a very important definition. الويت هو قوة الجذب اللي بتجذب الجسم للأرض. So again, weight depends on many factors. الويت بيعتمد على عوامل كتيرة جدا، عشان كده الويت بيتغير من مكان لمكان، لكن الماس ثابتة ما بتتغيرش. يعني الويت مش مرتبط بشكل كبير بجسمي انا، لكن مرتبط اكتر بالجسم اللي بيجذبني، كره ارضيه ولا كوكب تاني ولا فور اكزامبل القمر ولا جوبيتر ولا ساترن ولا ايه بالظبط. So again, weight is the attraction force or the gravitational force by which the body is attracted towards the earth. So let us see the definition of the weight. It's a very important definition and easy at the same time. Again, weight is the gravitational force by which a body is attracted towards the earth. Again, weight is the gravitational force by which a body is attracted towards the earth. So, what about the properties of weight? We have many properties of weight. هي خواص الويت أو الوزن. The effect of weight is always directed towards the earth's center. دايما تأثير الويت متجه لمركز الأرض. So, anything when I leave it falls downward. اي شيء بنسيبه بيقع للارض. ليه؟ عشان في حاجه مهمه جدا بنسميها جرافيتي، وجرافيتي هي بالظبط الويت. Again, anything if I leave it on air it will fall downward immediately. Why? Because there is a force that attracts things towards the earth. في قوه بتجذب الاشياء للارض بنسميها جرافيتي. وعارفين كويس قوي ان في ساينتست مشهور جدا، عالم شهير جدا who discovered this phenomena which is or who is the great scientist Isaac Newton. عارفين كويس قوي ان اسحاق نيوتن هو اللي اكتشف الجاذبية. So again, the effect of weight is always directed towards the earth's center. Another property of weight. On earth all objects have weight. على الارض كل حاجة ليها وزن. But in space all objects are in a state of weightlessness. يعني في حالة وحيدة بس ممكن يكون فيها الشخص أو الجسم ملوش وزن، لما يكون على سطح أو لما يكون في الفضاء، يعني يكون خرج من المجال الجاذبية الأرضية، يكون دخل في الفضاء. So again, on Earth all objects have weight, but in space all objects have not weight or in a state of weightlessness. Again, on Earth all objects have weight, but in space all objects haven't weight. That means that they are weightlessness. وده معناه ان الاجسام في حاله بنسميها weightlessness او انعدام الوزن. weightlessness او انعدام الوزن. So we have differentiate between mass and weight. عرفنا فرق مهم جدا بين الماس والويت، ان الماس doesn't change لكن الويت changes by changing the place. So again, what's meant by each one of them? What's meant by mass? عارفين كويس قوي ان الماس is the amount of matter in an object, but weight is the gravitational force by which the body is attracted towards the earth. So, another property of weight. As I said before, the effect of weight is always directed towards the Earth's center, and also on Earth all objects have weight, but in space all objects are in a state of weightlessness. يعني امتى يكون ما عنديش وزن؟ امتى انا هفضل طاير كده في السبيس في الفضاء، في حالة ان انا اكون في السبيس في الفضاء. في الحالة دي مفيش حاجة بتجذبني، ففي الحالة دي بنسميها weightlessness. لكن في حالة السبيس انا برضو عندي نفس الماس، نفس الكتلة بتاعتي. For example 50 كيلوغرام، 100 كيلوغرام and so on. لكن الويت بيتغير according to the place، طبقا لي او تبعا للمكان. Another property of weight, the measuring unit of weight is what? Is نيوتن. وحدة قياس مهمة جدا بستخدمها الويت هي نيوتن، مش كيلوغرام ولا جرام. مهم قوي نعرف ان الويت بيتقاس بالنيوتن. ودي غلطة قلنا عليها الاسبوع اللي فات، بنلاقيها written on some bags of sugar rice flour، على اكياس الدقيق او السكر for example. لما الاقي كلمة net weight الوزن الصافي for example 5 كيلوغرام، دي جملة مش صح علميا خالص. net weight must be in نيوتن. يعني لما اقول net weight لازم اقول equal for example 50 نيوتن، 100 نيوتن and so on. لكن لما اتكلم عن كيلوغرام انا كده بتكلم عن الماس، الكتلة مش الوزن. So again when I see that the net weight on some bags of rice, sugar or flour is for example 5 kilogram, it's wrong sentence. دي جملة خطأ جدا because net weight or the weight is measured by Newton not kilogram. Newton not kilogram. So what about kilogram? Kilogram is the measuring unit of mass not for weight. So what about Newton؟ يعني ايه نيوتن تقريبا؟ It's the weight of a mass of 100 gram. هو بيساوي وزن كتلة كميتها أو كتلة قيمتها 100 جرام. النيوتن بيساوي تقريبا وزن كتلة قيمتها 100 جرام. So the measuring device of weight is the spring scale. وحدة قياس أو الجهاز اللي بستخدمه عشان أقيس بيه الويت أو الوزن هو ميزان من نوع خاص بنسميه spring scale. Again the measuring device، الجهاز اللي هقيس بيه الويت هو spring scale أو الميزان الزنبركي، وهنشوف ده شكله حالا. ميزان مهم جدا. That's the spring scale which we use to measure weight. بستخدمه عشان اقيس بيه الويت. And the weight is measured by what? Is measured by Newton. Newton not kilogram. So again, weight of any body or any object increases by increasing its mass. So the relation between them is direct relation. علاقة بين الاثنين دول بين الماس والويت علاقة بنسميها direct، علاقة طردية. يعني لو الويت increase الماس increase and vice versa. الماس increase weight increase and also vice versa. عشان كده بنسمي العلاقة ديت علاقة طردية أو direct relation، أو I can say weight is directly proportional to mass. So again weight of any object increase by increasing its mass. So factors affecting on weight. يعني ايه كلمة factors؟ factor يعني عوامل. ايه اللي بيأثر على الويت أو بيأثر على الوزن؟ في 3 factor، 3 عوامل مهمين جدا بيأثروا على الويت which are object's mass. number 1 object's mass، كتلة الجسم. طبعا أكيد كلنا بنقول دلوقتي أكيد كل ما الماس increase كل ما الكتلة بتزيد weight increase، الوزن كمان بيزيد. So we can say that where the weight increases by increasing the mass. where the weight increases by increasing the mass. عشان كده أول فاكتور بيأثر على الويت أو العامل بيأثر على الوزن هو الماس. So another factor the planet or the place where the object exists. المكان أو الكوكب الموجود فيه الشخص أو الجسم ده. where the weight increases by increasing the planet mass. يعني كل ما كتلة الكوكب تزيد الوزن يزيد. For example if a person is standing on the planet Earth. نرسم مع بعض. A person is standing on the planet Earth as we have seen in the last picture, and this person moved to, for example, moon. What happened to his weight? His weight sure will decrease. Why? Weight decreases. Why? Because the size of the moon or the mass of the moon doesn't attract the person with the same attraction force of the earth. يعني تقريبا كده كمية الجذب أو الشد اللي هيشدني بيها القمر مش هي الكمية الموجودة عند الأرث. So for example if the weight here is 60 Newton, the weight on the moon will be 10 Newton only. Why? Why the weight decreases? Because the weight decreases by changing the place, or because the size of the moon is smaller than the size of the earth. يعني كل ما الكوكب يكبر يبقى كمية الشد أكتر، يبقى الويت أكتر. كل ما الكوكب يصغر او الجسم اللي انا موجود عليه يصغر يبقى كميه الشد اصغر، يبقى for example for that the weight decreased، الوزن بيقل. So again we can say that the second factor، العامل الثاني اللي بيأثر على الويت هو البلانيت او البليس where the object exists، المكان الموجود فيه الجسم. For example from if you change your place from the earth to Mercury to the moon to Jupiter for example, what happens if you stand on Jupiter for example, your weight will be much bigger، هيكبر جدا because Jupiter is the largest planet، هو أكبر كوكب and it has the largest weight is the largest attraction force. جوبيتر هيكون عنده أكبر كمية جذب لينا أو بيشد الجسم موجود عليه بكمية أكبر جدا، so it will have the largest weight، هيكون عنده أكبر كمية جذب. So again the planet or the place where the object exists where the weight increases by increasing the planet mass. Another factor that affect on weight or the last factor، آخر عامل بيأثر على الويت هو the distance between the object and the center of the planet، المسافة بين مركز الكوكب ووضع الجسم. So for example we can say where the weight decreases when the distance between the object and the center of the planet increase، الويت بيقل كل ما المسافة تزيد. طب ازاي ديت؟ Let me explain by drawing، نشرحها بالرسم. Imagine that here is a planet، في كوكب هنا okay and the center of the planet مركز الكوكب or the equator أو خط استواء الكوكب دوت. If I standing here and I change my place to the pole، لو غيرت مكاني للقطب الشمالي for example، what happened to my weight؟ if the distance increased، لو المسافة بيني وبين الcenter increase زادت، the weight decreases. So the relation between them is what؟ the relation is what؟ is inversely proportional. يعني كل ما ابعد عن المركز when I increase the distance between the planet center and the place of myself the weight decrease. كل ما ابعد عن المركز او كل ما ازود المسافة الويت بيقل. يبقى عندي هنا 3 factors affecting weight which are the mass of the object كتلة الجسم and the place of the object مكان الجسم and also the distance from the planet center. So we have 3 factors that affecting on weight which are again عندي كام factor which are mass of the object كتلة الجسم number 1, number 2 the place of the object مكان الجسم and number 3 the distance between the center of the planet or the place and the object. number 3 المسافة بين مركز الكوكب والجسم نفسه. So we have another notabene ملاحظة مهمة جدا. The attraction force of 1 Newton equal what? equal 100 gram, equal the mass of 100 grams. So again let us see this information. The attraction force acting I'm sorry, the attraction force acting on an apple, its mass is 100 gram equal 1 Newton. Weight affected towards the earth center as we have studied، الويت دايما بيأثر في اتجاه مركز الأرض downward لأسفل. Weight increase by increasing its mass، again the relation between them is directly proportional and we have example like that. A body weight on the surface of the earth equal 6 Newton. So what we expect its weight on the moon, surely its weight on the moon will be decreased or will decreases. So its weight on the moon will be 1 Newton on the surface of the moon. Again وزن الجسم على الأرض كان 6 نيوتن أو 6 نيوتن، لكن وزنه على القمر كان 1 نيوتن بس. Why? Because the weight decrease or the weight changes from place to place. So what about its mass؟ طب ولو اتكلمنا عن الكتلة عن الماس عند الأرث for example 60 كيلوغرام، surely it will be 60 kilogram on the moon. الماس ما بتتغيرش، الماس زي ما قلنا الاسبوع اللي فات ملحوظه كده فاني شويه ليها شخصيه it doesn't change from place to place، ما بتتغيرش من مكان لمكان. So again mass doesn't change from place to place but weight it changes from place to place. So weight of the body on the moon equal 1/6 or 1/6 of its weight on the surface of the earth. عرفنا كويس قوي ان وزن الجسم على القمر بيساوي تقريبا 1/6 or 1/6 او سدس وزنه على الارض، وده هنستخدمه ان شاء الله في رول مهم جدا النهارده في ازاي نحل مسائل او problems of mass and weight. So let's have a comparison between mass and weight, and after this comparison we will start how to solve a problem of mass and weight. We have a comparison between them. In the comparison we make 3 columns، بعمل 3 عواميد. First column for point of comparison وجه المقارنة. For example definition of what? Of mass and weight. Mass as we know is the amount of matter in an object. So what about weight? Weight is the gravitational force by which a body is attracted towards the earth. So, point of comparison, mass, we use units such as gram, kilogram and ton, but weight we use نيوتن. نيوتن اللي عندنا وحدة قياس واحدة بس للويت هي نيوتن، لكن عندنا أكتر من وحدة للماس هي الجرام، كيلوغرام and ton. Also we have measuring tool، أدوات قياس أو الأجهزة اللي بستخدمها عشان أقيس بيها الماس والويت. For example, in measuring mass I have 2-arm scale or 1-arm scale with the example. عندنا أمثلة كتيرة جدا ليهم. But in weight we use spring scale only or spring balance. ممكن أسميه spring scale أو spring balance. يبقى عندنا جهاز واحد بس بيقيس الويت هو spring scale أو spring balance. So the direction of each one of them, mass has no direction. mass ملهاش اتجاه لأنها ما بتتغيرش. So again, mass has no direction because it doesn't change from place to place or it doesn't depend on the place. هي مش معتمدة على المكان، فعشان كده هي ملهاش اتجاه. So what about weight? The weight has a direction towards the earth's center. الويت ليه اتجاه لمركز الأرض. So the weight is always directed downward or it always directed to the center of the earth or downward. So another point of comparison which is does it change or not؟ هل بيتغير من مكان لمكان ولا لأ؟ We have known that. عرفنا إن الماس constant or doesn't change or stable value، هي قيمة ثابتة. For example, if your mass here on the earth 50 kilogram, it will be all on the moon. لو عندك كتلة على الأرض 50 كيلوغرام 50 كيلوغرام، هتكون هي نفس الكتلة عند المون، عند جوبيتر، عند ميركوري، عند فينوس، عند أي بلانيت، عند أي مكان في اليونيفرس في الكون كله. So what about weight? Weight is a variable value. الويت قيمة متغيرة because it changes from place to place because it depends on the place. It depends on the mass. It depends on the distance from the planet center. الويت عنده factors، عوامل بتغيره which are 3 factors. So let us have or let us study how can we solve a problem. ازاي نحل مسائل او problem of mass and weight. It's a very easy way to solve this problem. ازاي نحل مسائل mass and weight مع بعض. ندرس مع بعض 2 laws، قانونين مهمين جدا نكتبهم مع بعض عشان نعرف ازاي نحل اي problem of mass and weight. We have 2 secret laws or we have 2 secret triangle. عندنا مثلثين مهمين جدا ازاي احل بيهم مسائل mass and weight and they are very very intelligent and very easy at the same time. Look at the first triangle. First triangle deal with weight and mass. Deal with weight and mass. If I have weight here, I have mass here and I have 10. So look here, if I want weight from this triangle، لو أنا عايز weight زي ما درسنا في الماس، I can put my finger or the pen on weight. Weight equal what? Equal mass by 10. So I can write weight equal mass by 10. So what about mass? If I want mass, put the pen on the mass. It will be weight divided mass. Weight divided mass. So it will be weight divided mass. So that's the first triangle. ده أول triangle هدرسه النهارده. أنا قلت هدرس 2 triangle مثلثين مهمين جدا to solve the problem of mass and weight عشان أحل بيهم مسائل الماس weight. So second triangle is deal with weight and weight. يعني أول triangle كان بيتكلم عن weight وماس. التريانجل الثاني بيتكلم عن weight to weight. طب هي فزورة الاثنين weight to weight ازاي؟ The weight on the earth and the weight on the moon. الوزن عند الأرض والوزن عند القمر. So again this triangle is like that. The weight on the earth, the weight on the moon. Look here, weight on the earth. letter E هنا مش معناها مش هقول كلمة we. لا هنا بقول weight on the earth. Weight on the moon, weight, the letter M is on the moon. By 6. So if I want the weight on the earth, what can I write? If I want the weight on the earth, I can write what? Put here, put your pen here. Weight on the moon by 6. Weight on the moon by 6. I know that, or of course all of you know how to use this triangle. انا عارف كويس قوي ان كلكم شاطرين جدا في الماس وعارفين ازاي بنستخدم التراينجل دي كويس قوي. For example, if I want weight on the earth, لو عايز weight on the earth, so it will be weight on the moon by 6. So if I want weight on the moon, لو عايز weight on the moon, what I can write? Weight on the moon equal weight on the earth divide 6. Look here, if I want this value, weight on the moon, it will be weight on the earth divide 6. Okay, so it's easy triangles, or they are easy triangle, and they are very important triangle at the same time. So let's start how to solve a problem by this triangle. نبدأ مع بعض ازاي احل problem بالتو triangle دول. Look here, I can summarize the two triangles by what we have studied now. The first triangle, look here, it will be the first triangle deals with weight and mass. Our triangle بيتعامل مع الويت والmass. Weight equal mass by 10, but mass equal weight divide 10. Second triangle, weight on the earth equal what? Equal weight on the moon by 6. Weight on the moon equal what? Weight on the earth divide 6. So let's start. First one. The problem says that a body, its mass on earth equal 60 kilogram. Calculate its mass on the moon, its weight on the moon, its weight on the earth, sorry, its weight on the moon. Look here, the problem seems difficult. تبان المسألة من أولها كده إنها صعبة شوية، لكن لو انتبهنا كويس أوي للتو triangle, it will be very easy. Okay? So let's start. A body, its mass on the earth equal what? السؤال بيقول لي أو البروبلم بتقول لي إن الماس 60 كيلوغرام. Mass equal 60 kilogram. Okay? So what are the demands المطلوب? What are the requirements? I want the mass on the moon, the weight on the moon, the weight on the earth. So before anything I write the two triangles. قبل أي خطوة بعملها في المسألة اكتب two triangle on the other side. First triangle is what? Look here. Weight, mass by 10. Second triangle is what? Look here. Weight on the earth, weight on the moon by 6. So let's start with the first demand. The mass on the moon. The mass on the moon. I can write mass between brackets moon. Okay. What about the mass on the moon? We know that the mass on the moon doesn't it change. So I can write the mass without law. يعني لما أحب أجيب mass أنا عندي mass on the earth. For example that. And I want mass on the moon. هنا مش هستخدم أي قانون خالص because we know that the mass doesn't change. الماس هي 60 kilogram because it doesn't change. So what about the weight on the earth? The weight on the earth. I have mass. أنا عندي mass وعايز weight. So which rule will I use? أستخدم أي rule فيهم؟ تاني أنا بقول عندي mass وعايز weight. weight والmass ولا الويت والويت؟ Surely it will be that. يعني كأني بالظبط بعرف أنا عندي إيه ومحتاج إيه. أنا عندي mass. Look here. I have mass and I want weight. I want weight. So this triangle is suitable for that. المثلث ده مناسب جدا للعملية دي. So weight equal what? Weight equal mass by 10. So it will be 60 kilogram by 10 equal 600 what? 600 Newton. 600 Newton. Take care. Weight is measured by what? Newton, not kilogram. So what about the last requirement? إيه هو آخر مطلوب؟ The weight on the moon. The weight on the moon. Look here. I want the weight on the moon. I can write weight between brackets under it, the letter M, the moon. Look here. I have weight and I want the weight on the moon. Weight on the earth, which I found from a while, لسه جايبه حالا, and I want weight on the moon. So I will use what triangle? Surely second triangle. Why? Because I want weight on the moon. Weight on the moon equal what? Equal weight on the earth. But divide, sorry, weight on the earth, divide 6. So equal 600, divide 6 equal 100. 100 what? Also 100 Newton. Why? Because the weight again is measured by what? By Newton. So to solve the problem of mass and weight, you must use the two laws. عشان أحل مسألة mass and weight تبان من أولها إنها صعبة، لكن بالpractice بالممارسة and many exercising about this problem, it will be very easy inshallah. So again, if you want to answer the problem of mass and weight, before anything, you must write the rules. قبل أي حاجة اكتب ال rules أو القانونين دول لأنهم مهمين جدا جدا جدا. So let's have another problem of mass and weight. Look here. A body, its weight on the earth equal 1200 Newton. Calculate the following. Before anything, I must write what? زي ما اتعلمنا قبل أي حاجة هكتب ال two rules نكتب مع بعض. First rule, weight, mass by 10. I think someone can ask me about this weight. This weight is weight on the earth or weight on the moon. This weight is weight on the earth. يعني لو حد سألني الويت اللي في الفيرست رول هي weight عند الإيرث وعند المون surely عند الإيرث. Okay. So what about second rule? Here I have weight on the earth and weight on the moon at the bottom by 6. Okay. So I have here only one information. عندي هنا معلومة واحدة بس or a piece of information which is that the weight on the earth equal 1200 Newton. The weight on the earth equal what? 1200 Newton. Okay? So I want what? I want the weight on the moon. The weight, that's the weight on the earth. Weight on the moon. Which rule I will use? I have weight on the earth, عندي weight on the earth وعايز weight on the moon. يعني عندي weight وعايز weight. هستخدم أي رول فيهم first or second? Surely second. Why? Because in the second law في القانون الثاني أنا عندي weight on the earth وعندي weight on the moon. عايز weight on the moon, I can put my finger here. It equal what? Weight on the earth divide 6. Weight on the earth divide 6. So equal what? 1200 divide 6 equal what? 200. 200 what? 200 Newton. Why Newton? Because here is the weight on earth, on moon, it doesn't matter. يعني أي weight سواء كان بستخدم له نيوتن. So the second demand is what? The mass on the earth. The mass on the earth. Look here, I have weight on the earth and I want mass. أنا عندي weight وعايز mass. عندي weight وعايز mass. هستخدم أي rule? Surely the first rule. Why? Because I have weight here and I want mass. يعني بستخدم القانون المناسب للمسألة. عشان كده كتير قوي من الطلبة للأسف الشديد ساعات بيقولوا المسائل problem of mass and weight difficult صعبة. No, it isn't difficult. Why? Because they don't know how to use the law. هم مشكلتهم الوحيدة انهم مش عارفين يستخدموا القانون المناسب. انا عندي two rules عشان احل بيهم اي problem mass and weight. لكن الشطارة بقى هو الطالب ال intelligent او brilliant او genius هو اللي يقدر يستخدم الرول المناسب. اوكي؟ القانونين مهمين جدا لكن مين فيهم اللي هستخدمه؟ For example here I have weight on the earth and I want mass. لو عايز mass surely the first law. لو عايز mass again كتلة بستخدم الفيرست law أو الفيرست triangle. So I want mass. Mass equal what? Weight on the earth divide 10. Weight on the earth divide 10. So it equal what? Weight on the earth, it will be here 1200 divide 10. So it will be what? It will be 120. 120 what? 120 kilogram. Why? Because I want mass. أنا بتكلم عن الماس يبقى بقول kilogram. So again I want mass. So what about the last demand? ايه المطلوب الأخير? I want the mass on the moon. I want the mass on the moon. It's a very easy demand. هو مطلوب سهل جدا but it's intelligent at the same time. طب هستخدم ال first law or the second law? القانون الأول القانون الثاني. Yes, I can hear some people they raise their voice. ناس كتير قوي بيرفعوا دلوقتي أصواتهم بيقولوا no, we don't use any law. مفيش أي قانون because mass doesn't change. So the mass here equal mass on the moon, mass on the earth equal 120 kilogram. Because again mass doesn't change. The mass is the same value on the earth and on the moon. الماس كمية ثابتة أو قيمة ثابتة on the earth and the moon. So again the problem of mass and weight are very easy problem if only you can use the rules and if only you can use how if you use the suitable law or suitable triangle or suitable rule for solving the problem. So let's start or let's practice another problem. The problem says that if a body of weight on earth equal 60 Newton, calculate the mass of this body on the earth and on the moon. So here I have only one information. هو اداني بس معلومة واحدة قال لي الويت on the earth equal 60 Newton. But before I answer any demand, I want what? I want to write the law. أول خطوة هكتب ال two rules القانونين. Okay. Here is the weight. Surely weight on the earth. Mass by 10. Second law. That's number one. That's number two. Weight on the earth, weight on the moon by 6. Okay? And here I have only one information, معلومة, or a piece of information, sorry, which is that the weight on the earth. The weight on the earth equal what? Equal 6 Newton, the weight on the earth. Okay? 6 Newton. So I want what? I want the mass of this body on the earth. I want the mass. I don't have the mass. So which rule I will use? هستخدم أي قانون؟ أنا عندي weight وعايز mass. Again, عندي weight وعايز mass. Look here, weight mass, weight. Surely I will use this law. Why? Because I have weight and I need mass. If I need mass, I put my finger on mass or my pen. So mass equal what? Equal weight on the earth divide 10. So mass equal weight on the earth divide 10. It will be what? It will be 60 divide 10 equal what? Equal 6. 6 what? 6 kilogram equal 6 kilogram. Why? Because I want mass. So what about the second demand? Second demand is that, and on the moon, the weight, the mass on the moon. What about the mass of this body on the moon? Surely it will be what? It will be the same answer. أنا سامع كتير قوي منكم بيقولوا لنا إن so the mass here on the moon and the mass on the earth, they are the same value without rule, بدون أي قانون خالص. The mass equal the same value, نفس الرقم بالظبط, the same value, نفس القيمة, 6 kilogram. Because what? Because mass doesn't change. Because mass doesn't change. So again, I promise you, if you practice, لو انت اتمرنت النهارده كتير جدا على مسائل الماس ويت, they are or they will be very easy and will be very interesting at the same time. هيكونوا شيقين جدا if only you use the suitable rule, the suitable law. استخدم بس القانون المناسب and they will be very easy إن شاء الله. So another problem, مسألة ثانية that deal with the problem of mass and weight. And before I answer anything, yes, I can write the two rules. So the problem says that calculate the mass of a body whose weight is 50 Newton. Calculate the mass of a body whose weight is 50 Newton. هو بيقول لي احسب الماس, بس قبل أي حاجة أنا هكتب ال two rules. The first rule, weight on the earth, mass by 10. Weight on the moon, or the earth, sorry, weight on the moon by 6. So calculate the mass. I don't have mass. Look here, mass is absent. Whose weight is 50 Newton. The weight is what? 50 Newton. Look here, which rule I will use? هستخدم أي قانون. Surely I can hear all of you, سامعكم كلكم بتقولوا the first rule. Why? Because here I have weight and I need mass. أنا عندي weight وعايز mass. لكن ممكن استخدم second rule? Surely no. Because in second rule I have two weight. الرول التاني فيه weight and weight. Weight to weight. No, I don't use the second rule. So, if I want the mass, mass equal what? Look here, I put my pen on the mass. Mass equal weight on the earth divide 10. Weight on the earth divide 10. So it will be what? Weight on the earth equal, as I have in the problem, 50 divide 10 equal 5. 5 what? 5 kilogram. Yes, surely 5 kilogram. Why 5 kilogram? Because as we know, the mass is measured by kilogram, not Newton. الكتلة بنقيسها بالكيلوغرام مش بالنيوتن. Again, the mass is measured by kilogram, not Newton, because Newton is the measuring unit for weight. So another problem, مسألة تانية, مش مشكلة تانية, هي مسألة. And I promised you, if you practice more and more on the problem of mass and weight, surely this problem will be very easy and interesting at the same time. طبعاً لو درسنا أو اتدربنا كتير قوي على مسائل mass weight by the two rules, هيكونوا مسائل سهلة جدا إن شاء الله, وفي نفس الوقت شيقة جدا جدا جدا. Another problem, and I think this will be the last problem because our time is up. The problem says that the mass of object equal 30 kilogram on Earth. Calculate its mass on the moon, its weight on the earth, its weight on the moon. It's a very long problem. مسألة طويلة جدا. And as I promised you, we can answer this problem only by the two laws. أول خطوة بعملها بكتب ال two laws. Okay. Look here. Weight on the earth, mass by 10. Second rule. Weight on the earth, weight on the moon by 6. So here I have mass of object equal 30 kilogram. The mass equal what? Equal 30 kilogram. Okay. Calculate its mass on the moon. The first demand, أول مطلوب مني عايز أجيب الماس عند المون. أنا عندي ماس وعايز ماس. Again أنا عندي ماس وعايز. كأني بقول لنفسي كده فعلا وأنا بحل. كأني بقول لنفسي أنا عندي إيه ومحتاج. أنا عندي mass on the earth equal 30 kilogram and I want the mass on the moon. The mass on the moon. And we know that the mass doesn't change. So the mass equal what? 30 kilogram also. So the mass doesn't change. يبقى أول مطلوب هنا سهل جدا. Why? Because the mass doesn't change. Because the mass doesn't change. And also the weight on the earth. The weight on the earth. I want the weight on the earth and I have what? أنا عايز weight on the earth وعندي mass. So which rule I will use? أنا عندي weight. أنا عندي mass وعايز weight. أنا عندي mass وعايز weight. Sure, the first law. Why? Because here I have mass and I want width. عندي mass وعايز width. Sure. So the weight on the earth equal what? Equal mass by 10. Equal mass by 10. So they will be 30 by 10 equal 300. 300 what? 300 Newton. Surely Newton. Why? Because width, as we have practiced more and more, is measured by Newton. عرفنا كويس قوي اتدربنا ان الويت بنقيسه بالنيوتن. So what about the last demand? آخر مطلوب مني the weight on the moon. The weight on the moon. Look here, the weight on the moon equal what? I want the weight on the moon and I have weight on the earth. Okay? Surely, which rule I will use? هستخدم أي قانون؟ Surely the second rule. القانون الثاني طبعا. Because I want weight on the moon and I have weight on the earth. So I put my finger on the weight on the earth or weight on the moon, on the weight on the moon. And weight on the moon equal weight on the earth divide 6. يعني لو عايز weight on the moon, it will be what? It will be weight on the earth divide 6. Weight on the earth divide 6. So it will be 300 divide 6 equal 50. 50 what? 50 again Newton. Why? Because again the weight, whatever on the moon, on the earth, on Jupiter, or on any planet is measured by what? Is measured by Newton. So again, the problem of mass and weight will be easy if only you practice more and more. مسائل mass weight سهلة جدا بس بشرط انك تدرب عليها كتير شوية. And I promise you, they are very easy and very interesting at the same time if only you practice them more and more. I think our time is up, but we will have another problem about mass and weight, so it will be again the last problem, okay? Before I answer anything in the problem, I must try the two rules, which are first rule and second rule, okay? First rule deal with what? Deals with weight on the earth, mass by 10. Second rule deal with what? Weight on the earth, weight on the moon by 6. So the problem says that if the weight of a body is 6 Newton, the weight of the body is what? The weight is 60 Newton on the surface of the moon. Calculate its weight on the surface of the earth. So the weight here is on the moon. Look here, the weight is on the moon. So I want to calculate the weight on the earth. عايز أحسب weight on the earth. Weight on the earth. Okay. So again, the weight on the moon is 6 Newton, and the weight on the earth I don't know. So which rule I will use? I have weight on the moon and I want weight on the earth. So I have weight and I want weight. عندي weight وعايز weight. So I will use the second rule. هستخدم القانون الثاني. Surely. Why? Because I have weight on the moon here and I want weight on the earth. يبقى مهم قوي ان انا اكون اعرف بستخدم اي رول او اي قانون. So here I want weight on the earth equal what? Equal weight on the moon by 6. Weight on the moon by 6. Okay. Weight on the moon by 6. Okay. So again I want weight on the earth. I want weight on the earth. So if I want weight on the earth, it will be equal weight on the moon by 6. So look here. Weight on the moon equal 60 by 6 equal what? Equal 360. 60 what? It's 360 Newton. 360 Newton. Again, why Newton? Because we practice more and more. Because we practice more and more, again, the weight is measured by Newton. So, by this problem, I'm afraid we have reached the end of this episode. So let's summarize what we have studied today. We have studied the main differences between mass and weight, درسنا الفروق بين mass and weight. We have studied also how to solve any problem of mass and weight by changing from mass to weight or vice versa by the two rules, which are very important rules and very interesting rules at the same time, as I promised you. And also we practice more and more to solve the problem of mass and weight. So please study hard this lesson. We have finished unit 1, which contained only one lesson of mass and weight. كده خلصنا أول يونت في منهجنا، هي درس واحد بس عن الماس والويت، الكتلة والوزن. لكن بليز لازم نحل كتير قوي عليها، لازم نحل كتير قوي مسائل الماس اند ويت في أي كتاب تاني، في كتاب المدرسة، في أي موقع على النت، على الفيسبوك، على صفحتنا على الفيسبوك. بليز نحل كمية كبيرة جدا عشان ما ننساش ازاي نحل مسائل الماس اند ويت. And by this problem we have finished this episode, and now thank you and goodbye.